Hello! Hi there, guys. Welcome back to this reading lesson 14, chapter 14 of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now, do you remember what happened in previous chapters? Well, Mr. Fox has now broken into not just Boggus's farm, but also Bunce's farm too. And he's met up with Badger, and Badger's helping him and the small foxes put together a feast for all the animals under the ground because they're all trapped by the farmers and their volunteers who have circled the hill. So, I'm going to crack on with chapter 14 now. Just one more visit, cried Mr. Fox. And I'll bet I know where that'll be, said the only small fox now left. He was the smallest fox of them all. Where? asked Badger. Well, said the smallest fox, we've been to Boggus, we've been to Bunce, but we haven't been to Bean. It must be Bean. You are right, said Mr. Fox, but what you don't know is which part of Bean's place we are about to visit. Which? They both said together. Aha, said Mr. Fox, just you wait and see. They were digging as they talked. The tunnel was going forward fast. Suddenly Badger said, Doesn't this worry you a tiny bit, Fox? Worry me? Said Mr. Fox. What? All this stealing. Mr. Fox stopped digging and stared at Badger as though he had gone completely dotty. My dear old furry frump, he said, do you know anyone in the whole world who wouldn't swipe a few chickens if his children were starving to death? There was a short silence while Badger thought deeply about this. You are far too respectable, said Mr. Fox. Oh, there's nothing wrong with being respectable, Badger said. Look, said Mr. Fox, Boggus and Bunce and Bean are out to kill us. You realise that, I hope. I do, Foxy, I do indeed, said the gentle Badger. But we're not going to stoop to their level. We don't want to kill them. Well, I should hope not, indeed, said Badger. We wouldn't dream of it, said Mr. Fox. We shall simply take a little food here and there to keep us and our families alive. I suppose we'll have to, said Badger. If they want to be horrible, let them, said Mr. Fox. We down here are decent, peace-loving people. Badger laid his head on one side and smiled at Fox. Foxy, he said, I love you. Thank you, said Mr. Fox. And now let's get on with the digging. 5 minutes later, Badger's front paws hit against something flat and hard. What on earth is this? He said. Looks like a solid stone wall. He and Mr. Fox scraped away the soil. It was a wall, but it was built of bricks, not stones. The wall was right in front of them, blocking their way. Now, who in the world would build a wall under the ground? asked Badger. Very simple, said Mr. Fox. It's the wall of an underground room. And if I'm not mistaken, it is exactly what we're looking for. Oh, that's something to think about, eh? An underground room. Why would one of the farmers have an underground room? What would you keep? Like food and drink-wise, what would you keep under the ground? Something to have a wee think about. But we are going to think about a really big issue with this lesson today, because Mr. Fox there brings up a really big issue, actually. He says that it's okay for them to steal chickens and geese because the farmers are out to kill the foxes. And so their children are starving, so they have to. Who wouldn't steal a bit of food? Well, I think that whole debate links a lot to global goal number 15, life on land, which is all about the animals on our land. Now, believe it or not, it used to be the case that people would go out fox hunting. It'd be a big event. They'd have lots and lots of dogs, and loads of people would come out on their horses, and they'd all dress in what we call kind of regal wear, red attire, and they'd go out chasing and hunting down foxes. And it's interesting to see that Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, in 2005, so that's like 15 years ago, said, I loved my day with the hunt, and I hope they have the courage and organisation to keep going forever. He said that when it was banned. when it was about to be banned, sorry. He said that. I hope they never stop, which is interesting. It's very interesting because just 2 years ago, when he was asked if fox hunting would ever come back, if he would reverse the ban, he said it was inconceivable, meaning that he didn't believe it would ever happen. And he then went on to say he wanted Brexit to be an opportunity to champion animal welfare. So Boris Johnson seems to have done a total reversal. Firstly, he thought fox hunting was good, and now he's saying, oh no, it's really bad, we shouldn't be doing it. So that's good to see that people can change their mind on issues, isn't it? And we all have the right to change our mind on issues. But when it comes to foxes, let's go back a little bit. Is Mr. Fox right? Is it okay to steal? Because, when you think about it, the farmers and farmers across Scotland and England and the rest of the world, are raising chickens, sheep, these things that foxes hunt. So foxes are taking the lives of other animals. But then we also take the lives of animals, don't we? Many of us. Look at KFC down there, yeah, and we think that's absolutely fine. I don't think anybody's saying we should ban KFC. Maybe there are some people, but not many. So, is it okay for the foxes to be hunting? Is it okay for the farmers to be trying to kill foxes? Ugh. Well, today's lesson, our learning intention is to justify your opinion. Do you remember what justify means? It means to give reasons to back up your opinion. Support your opinion. Support your thoughts. So the task is to consider, that means think, whether it is right or wrong for Mr. Fox to steal from the farmers. Is it right or is it wrong what he's doing? Now, this task I'd like actually to be what we call a written task, more of a kind of a small essay. Okay, and I've got some sentence starters here that I think it would be really good for you to use. Now, if you want to use your own sentence starters, that's fine. But I'll read them through at the moment. So we've got, I think it is right or wrong. You choose one. You got to think and choose one. That Mr. Fox steals from the farmers because... You can give us a reason there. Then, if I was a fox, if you were a fox, what would you do? What would you think? And then on the other side, however, if I was a farmer, if you were a farmer, you had lots of chickens and the foxes kept killing and stealing your chickens. I wonder if. That's a good sentence. To maybe ask a question, something you're unsure of. And then to finish off your final sentence, having looked at both sides of the argument, I think. What do you think? Is it right or wrong for Mr. Fox to steal? I'll tell you what, guys. Personally, I think it's quite a difficult question to answer. I think it's quite a hard one. But I'm really interested to see what you think. And if at the end, having looked at both sides, I think it's difficult to decide. That's fine if that's your opinion. If you're like, oh, I see both sides of the argument, that's an opinion. That's absolutely fine. But again, if you think it's right or wrong, I'd like to hear why you think that. That would be great. So, good luck with this task. It's a hard one. And I will see you again for lesson 15.